One. Hello, everyone. I'm Danny Gavin. I'm really excited to be with you today. I have a pretty action-packed presentation set up, but we're going to try to leave questions to the end. If you do have questions during the presentation, feel free to put it into the chat box. I occasionally will look down at that chat box, and I may answer it while I'm speaking, or we can always leave it to the end. So yeah, don't be afraid to interact throughout the presentation as well. All right, just to confirm, can everyone see my screen? Okay, perfect. So obviously it's a social media presentation, so there's going to be a lot of memes and GIFs, so hopefully it'll be fun. So this is our agenda for today. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. We're going to talk about figuring out what's the best social media platforms to go on, creating a content calendar, post ideas, rules on commenting, metrics, a day in the life, Canva tips and tricks, personal LinkedIn, business LinkedIn Q&A. So we have a lot going on. I included a lot of slides on LinkedIn because in general, LinkedIn is a very popular business platform. It isn't necessarily the right place for everyone, but I did want to include it because I think that no matter what business you're in, having a very strong LinkedIn presence can be really powerful. Okay, let's keep going. So just a little bit about me. I'm involved in sort of 3 organizations. My main thing is Optage. We're a full service digital marketing agency. We specialize in SEO, PPC, paid social for established businesses. Another branch of our organization is Odeo Academy, where I provide full digital marketing courses online. We have a really good 15-week fundamentals course, as well as specialty courses like on LinkedIn, Google Analytics, and more that are coming out soon. And then finally, most recently, at the beginning of the year, I launched the Digital Marketing Mentor, which is a really cool podcast where we talk about mentorship primarily, but then we also speak about different marketing topics as well. So far, it's been really great. And definitely, if you're into the whole concept of mentorship as well as marketing, it's a great podcast to listen to. We're weekly on Wednesdays. So that's me. I'm Professor Danny Gavin. I've actually been teaching at the University of Houston, in addition to everything else, since 2015. The best way to reach me is either on Twitter or LinkedIn. I've got over 13 years of experience when it comes to digital marketing. I actually built my school's website back in 1998 when I was like in 7th grade, but then more recently I started after I went to yeshiva in 2010. I'm a guitarist. And then obviously whenever I present, I like to show my kids. This is my 5 kids. It's kind of a little bit of an older picture, but they're really cute and it's what I do it all for. All right, so let's dive right in. When we talk about social media, the problem is we often have like this shiny, they say like the shiny toy syndrome or shiny object syndrome, where it's like, oh, a new thing came out. I have to be there. I have to go. And that's not exactly true. When we are approaching social media, you really have to think about, you have to step back and say, who are my customers? Who am I targeting? And where are they hanging out? And it's possible that your customers are not hanging out everywhere. And therefore, you really have to decide. Now, there's nothing wrong in trying out a platform and seeing it. But in the end of the day, if you see that there's no engagement, if you see that it's not really doing anything for you, it's okay to shut it down and not do anything. So here's a slide that basically goes over the different social media platforms. There are more than this, but this is sort of a high level view of what's out there and kind of the point. We can quickly go through them. I'm not going to read them in detail, but think about Facebook. It's the largest social media platform. It's a very broad base. You can target a lot of different people. In general, it's trending a lot older these days. So imagine like 30 plus, but even 40 plus. Instagram is very visual, right? So if you're a business and you don't have a lot of visual content, that may not be the right platform for you. Twitter, a lot of changes going on there with new management, but it's real-time updates and trending topics. It has its own style of engagement, but there's a diverse range of people and age groups on there. LinkedIn is very much a professional networking platform, particularly for B2B marketing and industry connections. But I've even seen people who are doing retail on there as well. And we're going to spend a lot of time on LinkedIn at the end of this presentation. YouTube, it's the largest video sharing platform. When you have video, you want to go on YouTube. People like think, TikTok is the only place to go. But YouTube recently created things called YouTube Shorts, which are short videos under 60 seconds, which are really powerful and can get in front of a lot of people and can bring people to see your larger videos as well. Reddit is kind of a quiet community. Or I want to say quiet. It's more like a hidden community. And it's basically, think of it as like discussions, but there's a lot of niche interest in discussions there. And if you have certain audience, a certain audience who are into certain things, it's a great place to get involved and to join in the conversation. TikTok is a short form video platform content popular among Gen Z and younger demographics, but honestly, even older people are on TikTok. Snapchat is similar to TikTok, but in general, that is more for the youth. Older people, not as much on there. So that gives you a great idea. So a lot of these platforms can work for you, but the point is that I'm trying to get is that you don't necessarily have to be everywhere. You really need to understand who your audience is and then focus on those platforms. And especially when you're starting in the beginning, you mean like, Danny, I've got to be on 8 social media platforms? No, like choose 1 or 2 that you think are going to be good and start there. And once you're getting your groove together, then you can maybe branch out to another. So no one's saying you have to do everything or nothing, but the idea is just to start. And we're going to talk more about details, but that's just sort of more of the introduction. The key to social media is a content calendar. And you're wondering why? Why is a content calendar so important? Well, I'll tell you why. Because we all know it's so hard, right? I got to wake up, got to dive in, learn a little bit, start working. And are you telling me every day I need to think about what I need to post? That's very stressful. Every day I've got to think about social media and what am I going to post, what I'm going to do, right? No one wants to do that. And that's why the idea is we don't want to wait till the last moment. So therefore, why do we need a content calendar? We need a content calendar to help us organize content strategically, plan for any upcoming holidays or events that are happening during the month. It ensures we follow the 80-20 rule. And what is that 80-20 rule? 80-20 rule is that although we look at social media as a marketing platform, it's not just about pushing our products and services. That's the 20. 20% of the time, yes, you can sell yourself. But 80% of the time, it's about going and entertaining people, educating people, informing people, interacting, being part of a conversation. So that means if you're going to post 5 times a week, 4 out of the 5 times, it's not about telling people, buy my product, buy my service, but it's about making a conversation. 1 out of 5, that's when you can go and be a little bit more of like a harder sell and push. But in order to keep track of that, right? What's my calendar? What's my strategy? What am I doing every single week? I need a calendar. It also ensures we're including all topics needed each month. So let's say we sit down and decide, okay, we're an accounting firm. We like to talk about, tax returns. We like talking about special credits for businesses, and we like talking about franchise tax. So we need to have topics all about that throughout the month. How are we going to do it? Great. So I'm not sure if this link works. I want to just double check. Yeah, it does. Let me, I'm going to just share my screen so you guys can get an idea of what this looks like. And I'd be happy to share this template with you if you get in touch with me, or Rebbe already can send it out. But yeah, the idea here is you have a detailed content calendar each day of the week. What's the topic? Is it going to be a quote? Is it going to be a local highlight? Is it going to be a GIF? Is it going to be whatever? What platforms is that going to go on? The date that's going on, what's the message? What's the image that's going to go on? And especially if you're in a large organization and you need to get things approved, this is a really great way of getting all your information together, and then you can go ahead and get it approved, or just to keep track of everything that's going on. Then once you've scheduled your posts, you can paste them here so that you can repost. You can repurpose posts every month, right? You might use a post 3 months ago that was really good. Maybe you can redo it 3 months later and do it in a different way. So this would be like another example. Then, a really great thing is keeping track of all the holidays. Like we know, a couple of holidays, but they're actually like, there's literally a holiday every day. That's another great way to tie in social media posts, is but finding a way to tie in your business into what the holiday of the day is. So if you keep track of this, then you're able to go ahead and create that content and schedule it accordingly. And then obviously it's good to have that little cheat sheet with your usernames and passwords and things like that. And this is sort of like this document that can help you organize everything. Okay, so you should be back on the presentation. So think about it. You don't have to wake up every day and do this, but at the beginning of the month or 2 weeks ahead of time, Set aside an hour or two to organize yourself. What am I going to do? And then you'll have it all planned out. And then there's tools we'll talk about in a bit to schedule, right? You can use scheduling tools like Hootsuite or Sprout Social, or, there's lots of different scheduling tools. So really you could go spend an hour, get all your content ready, 2 hours, schedule it out for the rest of the month. And then you don't even have to think about at least that part of the social media. But in the end of the day, is if you do not organize yourself, it's going to be really hard to do it. And it's going to lead you to a point where you're not going to do social media because it's too much of a pain every single day. Just a reminder, if you have any questions, feel free to drop it in the chat box. I am checking that periodically, and it definitely makes the conversation a little bit more exciting because it's not just me talking, but I can also interact with you. So feel free to do that as well. All right, so we spoke about content mix. But I'm going to drive home the concept even further, that social media is more than just selling. So we spoke about that 20-80 rule. So this is exactly what we're looking at, right? 20% of your posts can be humor, engaging with people, a resource. A resource could be like a guide, or sometimes it doesn't even have to be the content on your website. Like, for example, Yossi Shomer, I see, just jumped on, a friend of mine. He finds this really good tax guide that the government has. And even though it's not on his website, but he could share that on social media to help people out. So content doesn't always have to be the content on your website or what you have. Obviously, the more that we can get people to come towards our website and to interact with us, the better. But there's nothing wrong of, you found a really good blog post or some other sort of resource. Like a good example would be, I work with quite a few ABA therapy companies, and, they're working with parents who have, challenges with children. And, if you find a really good post on a website that talks about, whether, no matter what it is, but good parenting, that would be a really helpful thing to share. Storytelling is a big one, and we're going to talk about storytelling in a bit. But then you can see, once again, that selling, it's really just 20% of the time, and it's really hard, right? It takes a lot of, it takes a lot of, sorry, I see some of the comments here. Yes, nice to see some people here I haven't seen in a while. But it takes a lot of self-control when it comes to selling, because that's what we want to do. Why am I even on here? I want people to buy from me, but we have to be patient, right? It's a process, and it needs to be a mix in order to do that. And I believe the recording will be available through Rabbi Wordy, and we will share that calendar sheet link with you as a great resource.
We will make the recording available to everyone that participated.
All right, awesome. Okay, content ideas. So here are a bunch of content ideas that hopefully can help you. And you can see there's a lot of them here. So number one, reposts. Obviously when you're active, people tag you. So, when someone tags you, it's great to repost that content. I'm envisioning like Instagram now, like someone, tags your product or service, you can then take that post and reshare it. That's really good. Like-minded businesses, right? If you have businesses that are similar, for example, if you're an orthodontist and you see a dentist, post something really funny, maybe you could repost that as well. And it's not really a competitor, but it's a like-minded business, similar sort of concept. Also clients and customers, you have specific clients or customers, you want to repost their content, but that's a really great way of doing it. Next is tell a story. Stories are so powerful. That's what people are into. They want to hear the story. It's not just about what you do, but it's how you helped someone. It's how you made a difference. So you could tell stories about your brand, personal stories if you're an individual, and then also your customer stories. And how do you get those stories? Reach out to your customers, talk with people. There's stories that happen in your office every day that can be inspiring. And we underestimate the amount of content that we have around us. The way I like to put it is, just like how we say, like, Hashem is ruling the world, and Hashem is sending us messages the whole day, but we need the right antenna to pick that up. It's the same thing with social media. Things are happening around us the whole day that could be a really good social media post, but we don't think about it. Now, I'm not saying you should be stressed out about this, but keep an open mind. And if something happens, right, you're dropping off your kids at school, and you're in the carpool line, and it's taking a little bit longer, but you think of something, write it down. It might be a great opportunity to teach people about patience. But yeah, so that's when it comes from a story. Let's talk about quotes. Quotes are powerful. Quotes are, it doesn't necessarily mean your quote. It could be a quote from a famous person, but I'll give you an example, which we've done in our agency and works really, really well. If it's Mother's Day and I post a post about Happy Mother's Day, that's one way of approaching Mother's Day. But think about it. There's like 50 million other businesses that have a Happy Mother's Day post. But imagine if I post an inspirational quote about how mothers change our lives. And obviously today's Mother's Day, but that's something more like, that's cool. Wow, that's great. I want to share that with people. Posting something just Happy Mother's Day, I don't know if people are going to share that, but something valuable. So you're highlighting highlighting the point, but you're doing it in a way that it's actually going to get people to share and spread the message even more. So we always like to throw a quote in, once, twice a week, or once every a week, or once every 2 weeks, and they're really, really powerful. Ask questions. One of the things that we want to do is a two-way conversation. Social media was called Web 2.0 because Web 1.0 was just pasting my website and people saw it. 2.0 social media is because we can interact with our consumers. And therefore, you need to do that within your social media platforms as well. So the idea would be that you want to go ahead and you could go onto Google and search for, like, what are engagement questions for social media. Now with ChatGPT, man, I didn't include content on ChatGPT in this presentation. Maybe we'll get to do another presentation on ChatGPT, but you can go to ChatGPT and get a lot of what are ideas that I can ask people. By approaching social media and asking questions to your audience, that's going to get people engaged. People want to give their opinion and talk about different things. So that is a really great way as well. So once again, it could be a post, maybe the picture is not so fancy, but you're asking an engaging question, and that's going to get people involved and making you a part of the conversation. All right, memes. So memes are usually pop culture icon, pop culture pictures, things that happen on TV shows or on movies or different things like that. So in the film world, maybe memes aren't as acceptable, but there are sometimes funny memes, even from a film perspective. And so the idea is those are also really powerful and really cute. And you can even create your own memes, right? Using Canva. I'm going to mention Canva a lot today. I don't know if we'll have time to go into Canva, but Canva is a very powerful design tool. The days of having to know Photoshop are dead. You can create so much content and graphics on Canva, even if you don't know anything about graphic design. You can take a template, edit it, and really go ahead and make something. So you can find memes, you can share them, create your own memes. And then finally, resources like we touched before, free articles, blogs, tips and tricks. These are all really good ideas. So if you think about it, I've just given you like 6 categories but in each one, there's maybe like 2 perspectives, right? So that's like 12 ideas that you could do throughout the month. Imagine if you were posting 3 times a week, or 3 times a week over 4 weeks. There you go. You've got the 12 things that you need to do. Sit at the beginning of the month and start putting together those ideas. So we have some good questions here. Shmuel's asking, what if your audience is too small for an engaging question? And then Aaron's like, how do you approach people? These are really great questions. So yes, you need to build up your audience, and it's sort of like a chicken and egg situation. What comes first? But you know what, Shmuel, like, I'll give an example. I have a student of mine from Odeo Academy, and she's posting on LinkedIn, and she's posting really good content, but she's only getting like 4 likes every time. And it's hard in the beginning, but you got to keep at it, and it's going to grow. You also have to use different strategies of, are you using the right hashtags? Are you sharing with people? Do you have friends who maybe you can say, hey guys, can you like this post? Can you share this post? So there are different strategies in building an audience. And sometimes you have to put money behind it, where, like on Facebook, for example, if you do a post on Facebook or even on Instagram these days, if you want more people to see it, sometimes you have to put some money, and we call it money to boost a post. And it doesn't have to be a lot. We've seen a lot of cool results, even putting like $1 or $2 behind a post. But you can select the audience that you want to target and boost that post so more people can see it. Think of it as an ad, but it's like a quick ad in order to boost some content that you already have, is a really great way of doing it. So, Aaron wants to know how do hashtags work? So hashtags, it depends on the platform, but hashtags are a way that people find content. So in your social media post, usually at the end, you'll go ahead and add hashtags. Hashtags will be like a hash sign, which is like a pound sign with a phrase. And then if you tag your post with that phrase, if someone then searches for that topic, your post will show up. So think of it as like a way for people to find your content by using the right hashtags. So you kind of have to learn, like, what are the hashtags that are popular? What are people looking at? Now, each platform has a little bit of a different way of how they use hashtags, but that's something that, Aaron, if you're interested in learning, there is obviously more information about that online, and that's something that you can learn more about when it comes to hashtags. Shmuel, how long should it take to get it going? It really depends, but anything that good takes time. So you gotta work at it, right? I would say keep pushing, do it for a year, right? I mean, you gotta push. At a minimum, I like to say in anything in digital marketing world, you need to try for at least 3 months. And then at that point, you could determine whether it's a good time investment for you, and have you actually seen the results. So I would say minimum 3 months, any sort of thing that you're looking at. All right, I'm gonna lots of questions, but we'll keep going. Rules on commenting. Don't be a spammer. So what happens is when you get a lot, when you're going to go ahead and post, you're going to have people who comment. So there's a certain etiquette when it comes to commenting and replying and commenting. So number one is you should engage with all comments in some way, either with a reaction. Reaction would mean like just to put a heart or a like that. Okay, I saw your comment and I've noticed it. You could reply, but don't try to sell with each comment reply. So like Shmuel, a good example would be Shmuel, right? If people comment, I don't want you to reply to every comment saying, hey, do you want to get on a call to trap my CPA services? Do you want to get on a call to trap my CPA services? No, don't do that, right? So don't try to sell with each comment. Sometimes you get comments that are inappropriate, either because they're actually inappropriate or they're attacking you, and that happens on the internet. So different companies, different people, different social media experts have sort of different opinions on it. So you have two options. One is you can hide the comment, and that means that no one sees it besides for the person themselves who commented. The second option is to block. A block means you delete it, and you can even block the person from your page so they never come back. When it's an inappropriate or harmful, I'm into deleting it. If it's a comment that's challenging you a little bit or a customer who's disgruntled, it's not good to delete. You need to respond to it. And sometimes it's just like with reviews, right? No company is going to get 5 stars, or very little do. Most, a normal thing is have 4 stars, because sometimes you're going to get those reviews that are not going to be great. But the trick is that if people see how you handle those reviews, that, if 4 out of 5 times, it's going to be a great experience. 1 out of 5, it's not going to be a great experience. But I see that based on how you respond to these comments, how you respond to these reviews shows that if I do have a bad experience, you're going to help me out. And therefore there is an advantage in keeping a sort quasi negative comment around so that you can go ahead and respond to it. All right. Analytics. That's a big part of social media, because often, especially if you work for a company, they're like, hey, how much money did it bring? Right? So the first thing you need to do is determine your goals. What are the goals of my social media? Is it to there? And there's like soft goals and hard goals. Soft goals are like platform metrics. I want to get 1,000 followers. I want to get 100 likes. I want to reach 50,000 people, right? And that's really so that you have to figure out which metrics do I want to track. In general, when we're talking about pure social media, the metric that I like the most is reach. How many people are we reaching? How many people are seeing us? Now, obviously, engagement is an important one, right? How many people are engaging with the post? How many people are leaving comments? That's also important. So that's something you have to figure out, and you have to work towards by creating that benchmark of saying, okay, on average, my post gets 10 likes. And I'm testing different things. I'm testing out a quote post, and a quote post gets 100 likes. Great. That works really well. I should do more of that. I do a post about a cat, a silly cat meme. I get 0 likes. I'm not going to continue with that. Ideally, you should track weekly, monthly. Obviously, you want to step back a little bit, look for any big dips, any big increases in order to see. Now, every single social media platform has its own analytics. So you can go in the back of Instagram, in the back of YouTube, in the back of Facebook, and see what's going on. In addition to this, ideally, one also wants to use Google Analytics. Google Analytics is a free analytics tool. It happens to be that they're coming out with their GA4 version, which is coming really soon, July 1st. So check that out as well. But ideally, I want to see that when social media traffic comes from social media to my website, what happens to that traffic? Do they actually buy something? What do they do on the website? So, whenever I say pure social media is more of like a branding play. It's just like you need a storefront, you need a social media presence and active, you want to be on top of mind of people. But social media is not always the best one-to-one dollar in order to get a return on investment, right? For example, if I'm doing Google ads and I'm paying $1 for Google ads, I expect that I get $2 of sales or $3 or $4 of sales. With social media, it's a little bit harder to have that direct ROI. But so meaning I don't want you to judge the success or failure of this based on the actual business you get. Yes, it's a component and you should still analyze it and see what's going on. But remember that a big part of this is the untangible, the untrackable that's there. But that shouldn't stop you from using a tool like Google Analytics to see what's going on. All right, we're about to move into LinkedIn. I wanted to know if there was any other questions on this section before we move on. I'm going to, as you think about that, I have a question here from 94. I'm a copywriter, content creator, and SEO guy. Cool. I'd like to meet you. LinkedIn is full of those. What's the best way to succeed there? Just keep pushing. Great. Well, we're about to jump into LinkedIn, and hopefully some of my ideas will help you, 94. But yeah, obviously we'll talk as we go through. Bill, I don't understand your Bill, I don't understand your question. So I'm going to keep moving, but if you want to try to rewrite it, that would be good. Okay, let's move on. Get connected on LinkedIn. So remember, if let's say you're selling baby clothes, ideally your market is going to be, let's say, on Facebook, because that's where the moms are hanging out. That's when they're going to know. You want to hang out on Instagram and other places that moms do. LinkedIn, yeah, of course there's moms, but moms are not really there to buy clothing, right? However, if you are in the clothing business and you're looking for partners or retail outlets, B2B, then it makes a lot of sense. A really good example is, I think his name is Moishe Frank. Moishe Frank is the guy who created Spritzly, which is like that grape juice seltzer. Such a crazy idea because it's my favorite drink, and he actually put it into a can. But he's a guy where you think like, okay, the guy sells one flavor of seltzer. What's the guy doing on LinkedIn? Like, is he trying to sell seltzer on LinkedIn? No. What does he do? He talks about the struggle. Like, here I am, I'm this guy, I'm building this business, and this is what I did today, and it was difficult. And look, I got this account in Toronto, and it's amazing. But like, everyone knows about this guy now. And so even though he might not be selling cans through LinkedIn, but he's creating this persona, this really interesting businessman, and he's creating these connections with people that maybe wouldn't have known about him otherwise. So you have to think if LinkedIn's right for you, but it's very, very powerful, right? It's the largest professional network with nearly 800 million members in more than 200 countries and territories worldwide. It's big, guys. And if you didn't know, Microsoft owns it. So let's first talk about your personal LinkedIn page, and then we're going to move into the corporate LinkedIn page, because that's 2 sections of LinkedIn. So the purpose of a personal page on LinkedIn is to build a network of customers and peers, establish thought leadership. So like 94 said, hey, I'm a copywriter, content creator, I'm an SEO guy. There's a million other people out there. How do I do it? You know what? You throw in your hat into the ring. Your perspective is going to be different than someone else's. And I think that's very, very powerful. Then it's a way to showcase your skills and experience. What skills do you have? What jobs have you been in? What experience, what projects have you done? And you can stay connected with customers you wouldn't speak to on a weekly basis, right? People that you wouldn't call every day, but you're on LinkedIn, they're connected to you, they're seeing you, so you're staying in front of them all the time. I want to give a beautiful example. In 2012, which is over 10 years ago, I went to a conference in Austin, Texas called South by Southwest. My friend Mordechai Lightstone runs a beautiful Shabbos program there every year during that conference. And that conference, it's a music festival, it's a movie festival, but it's also a tech conference. I was in a keynote speech. I believe it was the founder either of Twitter or Foursquare. I don't remember. And sitting next to me was this lady. She worked at Dell Computers. We had a really nice talk. How you doing? What's going on? We became friends on LinkedIn. She followed me for 10 years, literally, right? And I remembered her. She reached out to me a couple weeks ago and she's like, Danny, like, I've been following you for 10 years. I've got this certain challenge. I'm looking to switch jobs, but I've been a manager for so long that I don't have enough skills in order to take some of these jobs, because the jobs want people who actually know how to do the digital marketing, not just manage it. I really need to have my skills. I see you run a program for people to learn this. I would love to take your course. And by the way, I'm looking for a job. Can you help me, get in touch with this recruiter? Crazy, right? So imagine, like, I've been on LinkedIn for 10 years. I'm not saying I've been active on 10 years, but this is someone who I haven't really spoken to in 10 years, but because I was there and I was active, I was in their brain. And when they needed me, I was there and I was able to help them out. Crazy, but this happens, right? It's the same idea. I know I'm throwing like Yiddishkeit into this, but it's the same concept, right? Walking down the street, being a proud Jew, doing something. We all know the stories of how influencing other people just by seeing you. It's the same sort of concept. Being active, being there, you don't know what you're going to accomplish. So Aaron wanted to know if Spritzly is advertising on LinkedIn. No, they aren't advertising on LinkedIn. I don't know what their advertising is. I was in camp with Moshe a long time ago, but I don't keep up with him personally. So I'm not sure exactly the situation. I'm just very in awe of what he's accomplished specifically on LinkedIn. He's pretty cool. So Shmuel wants to know, should the focus be primarily on the personal page? Okay, we're going to get to this we're going to get to your two questions now. LinkedIn is not about you. Sorry, LinkedIn is about you, but not for you. So what that means is we need to let people know about you, right? So your personal LinkedIn best practices for optimizing your page, which is your personal profile page. Have a nice profile picture, right? Take, you don't want the one from the chasna where your wife's head is like half chopped off. No, it should be one that looks good, professional picture. Have a nice picture in the background, right? That banner image. You can put your phone number, your website, what you do, so people really know what's going on. Have your name, right? And your tagline. Your tagline's big because that's going to let people know right away what you focus on and what can they expect if they follow or reach out to you. Further down the page, you want to add your work experience, everything that you've done, and also your volunteering experience. People want to get a good perspective of who you are and what you do outside of work as well. Because in business these days, or always, we do business with people, right? We want to know about our people. And experience and skills, right? And also skills are really good. Skills are things that you claim that you're good at, and then you can get other people to vote you and say, yeah, Danny's really good at online marketing, or Danny's really good at social media marketing. And other things that I don't have here, but there's also reviews. You can ask someone to leave a review about you. You can also put pictures of projects or different links to other things. But the idea is you want to take this LinkedIn profile and beef it up. This is an important representation of you. And I know that Shmuel asked, should your focus be on the personal page? And the answer is the personal page is the thing that gets you the most value. On LinkedIn, it's about the people. And therefore, even though some people in their businesses, they want to hide behind the curtain, it's important to get involved. You don't need to be a LinkedIn influencer, like doing selfie videos all the day and publishing that. But yes, you do need to be a representative of the company and speak. And we'll talk about company pages in a bit, but a lot of business happens through the personal page. So now that you have a great profile, now what do? Now you're going to post and share content, connect with other people, and engage with the company pages of different people or your company page. Now, a lot of people say to me, Danny, what sort of content do I post on LinkedIn? So I'm going to give you some examples from myself, but also examples from other people as well, to give you an idea of what the style, what goes on LinkedIn. A big part of LinkedIn is selling, but not selling. Letting people know what I do without actually telling them, buy from me. So let's read this post. I just wanted to share a quick story with you. Our sales rep from Florida told us that one of his guys that buys from the competition mentioned, hey, it seems like you guys are everywhere. Every time I Google this product or go on the internet, all I find is your company. It's one thing to see the statistics, but it's another thing when people realize it and start talking about it. We are happy to hear that, and it seems that we are getting more and more exposure nationally on the internet. Thank you, and just wanted to share that with you. So this was a letter that I received from a client of ours. And at the end of that letter, I say, I just received this from one of our Optich clients. It's wonderful to get emails like these. It's what we work for. Now, when you read that, what do you say? Oh, Danny does SEO and he's really good at it, right? But did I say that? I didn't say, hey guys, I do SEO, do you need SEO help? Please contact me. Here's another example of selling but not selling. This is at the JCon event. It was like the first CHYE chosen conference in Crown Heights. And, I met one of my students for the first time in person. And I was so excited that I met him. And this was another way of letting people know, hey, Danny's got this course that people learn things and people seem really happy to take it. Maybe they should check it out. So it's kind of like letting people know without being so direct. Showing expertise and tagging others. This is a big one as well. Do Facebook ads work for B2B lead generation? This was a conference that I spoke at. And then I went ahead and I started tagging all the people that I met at the conference. Tagging people in posts is a great way because people love to be tagged. So then they'll come in and they'll comment. And whenever you comment on a post, sometimes that post will show up to your people who follow you. So imagine I'll take like Christina Land. Christina Land, she comments on my post, and then the people who follow her might see that post, and that could increase my engagement. So it's a great way. If you can find opportunities to talk about meetings that you've had with people or situations where you've gone together and tag those individuals, it's another great strategy on LinkedIn. Here's another one. LinkedIn is not just about business. Some of my highest rated posts are me doing the 5K or going to a blood drive in the middle of COVID, right? Yes, I'm not saying you need to post pictures of your chasna or your kid's bar mitzvah or things like that, but certain inspirational moments that we're doing outside of work are very powerful for people to get to know you and what you accomplish. And yes, it can be a little uncomfortable to do it in the beginning, but it's a really great strategy. And usually the personal posts are the ones that get the most engagement. We spoke about asking questions and generating conversations. So this is a post from David Konigsberg. He runs a digital marketing agency in Lakewood. It just gives an example. He tags Chaya and says, hey, how would you solve the problem? Who should judge success or waste in print ads? So that really helps. Like we touched upon this before, but going ahead and asking questions, generating conversations is huge. You could get 40, 50 comments on a post just by if it's an interesting topic that people are into. Before I move to the next thing, there is a private message was sent to me, and let's read about the question here. Can you please speak more about building an audience? I feel like this is the biggest challenge with starting a channel. Are you reaching out? Are you reaching out? Are you just following people? What are the strategies? Looking for brands similar or the same as yours and engaging with their customers? Ooh, so this is a great question. Starting out is always the hardest. So number one, it depends on the platform. Not all platforms are equal when it comes to this scenario. But part of it is like, so let's take LinkedIn, for example. In LinkedIn, yeah, you need to connect with people. You need to comment on people's posts. You need to share. You can't just be posting your own things. You also need to be interacting with other people as well. And often when it's like, it's like giving and receiving. When you give, often you receive back. And that's how it works. It's by using the right hashtags. It's sometimes by using money to boost some of your content so that people see it. Sometimes it's a viral thing that goes viral, right? The hardest part about social media virality is everyone's like, I'm going to make the next viral post. I'm going to make, but like sometimes you just don't know what works and what doesn't. So you have to keep trying. It's about reaching out to your existing customers and saying, hey guys, we're on social media. Check us out, follow us, get them on social media. It's about getting your employees involved, right? When you post something, if you have a company of 100 people, you should have at least 100 people, liking your post. I'm thinking theoretically. So a follow-up question to what I've just said is, right, Danny, but LinkedIn is mostly centralized around a personality versus most businesses are about the company. So what I want to tell you is that's wrong. Businesses have to have a personality. Businesses do have to have individuals. So I'm not saying that has to be on LinkedIn. I mean, sorry, on Instagram or on Facebook. But when it comes to LinkedIn, the easiest way to be successful is to find that individual in the company who can be the ambassador of the company and help push it from his perspective. We'll talk about business pages in a little bit. All right, moving on to next slide. Sales Navigator. This is a paid tool, but Sales Navigator is a really cool tool for you to, imagine it like sales prospecting, but like you can keep track of, let's say I'm going after 20 people, 20 accounts, and I know who the people are. I can use Sales Navigator to specifically watch those people. Because in my general LinkedIn feed, I don't always see everything from everyone, but through Sales Navigator, it provides me a really good way to find people, but then also watch them. So I have a good example, for one of the e-commerce sites that I work with, we were trying to get Amazon Pay as part of it. So I had an Amazon Pay rep, and it happened to be like, until I signed with him, anytime I put something on LinkedIn, he liked my post or he commented or this or that. Now, how come the guy every time? Because he knows, I know that Danny is almost ready to sign, but he hasn't signed yet. And I need to stay top of mind. So he most probably had Sales Navigator and he marked me as one of his special people to follow. And every time I came up, he interacted. It has a lot of other tools and insights, but it's a really cool, if you are a business development person, if you're in sales, it's a very powerful tool to get involved with. You do have to pay. I'm not sure what the price is these days, but it's something to do. Other parts of LinkedIn, there's polls, sending out polls, which are like, how many people think that we should have a 4-day work week instead of a 5-day work week? And polls are also a great way to get engagement. We spoke about hashtags a little bit. Hashtags are also a great way for content to be uncovered because people do search hashtags on LinkedIn. And then there's also groups. There are a lot of groups on LinkedIn. I personally am not involved in that many. I feel like they're a little passe, but I'm sure there are still active groups. And especially for certain industries, being involved in those groups, adding content, being part of the conversation can make a big deal. All right. Now moving into the company LinkedIn best practices. So for your company page, once again, have that really good profile image, have a good banner image, make sure there's a name, your tagline, all your information, links to your website, way people can contact you. It's another way for people to go and get there. Your overview is really important. Any of that important information, it's kind of like a mini website. So first of all, how do you grow your company page? Number one is anyone who's an admin on the company page has 250 invites that they can send to their own connections every 30 days. So by strategically getting people in your organization who have, LinkedIn profiles and making them admins, they can send out invites to everyone to join the page. Number two, share employee updates, right? When an employee does something, share it on your page. So that will get the employees, the person's audience onto your page as well. Open jobs are really important. And LinkedIn's also really important about culture, right? A lot of people go to LinkedIn to see, okay, I want to get a job at this company. What do they do? What do they care about? What do people like? So posting that sort of information is really good. Now, some LinkedIn pages do awesome. They do really, 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 really well. They get tons of engagement. So like the person who asked the question before, I've seen business pages do really, really well. But I feel like the key is, and the easier route is by building the personal page first, and going that route. But then obviously you can then take your audience from the personal and move it over to the business as well. On average, your employees have a network that is 10 times larger than your company's follower base. So you need to leverage your employees to push your company content. Number one, encourage your team to be your brand advocates, get people to post. Anytime you post something, you can actually click a button to notify people. Hey, we have a new post, comment. Consider an incentive program to get employees to post. It's also important to have a social media policy. If you're part of this company and you're posting on behalf of the company, what does the company allow you to say and not? And then obviously you want to update employment statuses on LinkedIn as well. So if you see a new employee joined and they didn't update their LinkedIn, hey, update your LinkedIn. Be proud that you joined our company. And that is a wrap. So it's a lot of content, a lot of information, but I hope it was helpful. We now have about 10 minutes to go over questions. I already have 2 additional questions. But now, yeah, anyone can jump in. Any comments, questions, concerns, let me know. We've got 10 minutes. So first question from Aaron: how can I get all notifications in my inbox from Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram? It's a great question. So there are social media management tools like Hootsuite, like Sprout Social. There are a couple others where you can connect all your different social media platforms and manage it and see everything that's going one place. With regards to like inbox, where you mean like email inbox, well, you can set notifications to go to an email, but in general, I think that's one thing. Or you kind of have a schedule. Like once a day, I check social media. It's at 4 o'clock and I log in, right? Like let's talk about mental health a little bit. Having your cell phone and checking your social media every second is not healthy. And we're all guilty of it. So a lot of people will remove social media from their phone. It's a good idea, actually. And just set aside a time, maybe once in the day, once in the night, in the evening, once in the morning, to go over your social media for your company. Obviously, companies that are like, Delta Airlines and they need to answer people right away, that may not work for you. But for the average person, don't let social media take over your life. You can still do it without having it to take over your life. Shmuel's question: is video content a must for social media today? You know what? It's not a must, but it's the content that gets the most. Like you can see that's where everything's going. Instagram, right? The most powerful content are the videos. I think on LinkedIn, you can get away without videos. So I would say it's not a must, but there is a huge advantage of doing it. And video does not mean it has to be a professional production. If you have a good phone, you can do a lot with that. And that's acceptable these days. So just keep that in mind. Any other questions? And if anyone wants to unmute themselves and ask a verbal question, I'm also happy to take that as well.
Hi, Danny. A question. In terms of time allocation, how much time would you say one should spend in creating online content, social media, and putting their energy there?
Ooh, so it's a very broad question, right? Because there's a lot of different scenarios. But what I would say
Correct,
is
different industries and different positions and how much company, but from what you shared, it sounds like hire full-time social media manager. But for myself, I'm starting out in a new business. I can't afford that. So
for sure.
as
So
a
that's why you've got to be smart, right? You need to. So that's why I would say take an hour or two at the beginning of the month and strategize the whole month so that you don't have to worry about it, right? If you use scheduling tools, then you can schedule things in advance. And then, yes, you do need to. So I would say have that like nice big block at the beginning. Now, you may not be able to do it monthly. It might need to be 2 weeks ahead of time. So you do it twice a month and you're working on something 2 weeks before. So think of like that nice 2-hour chunk. And then every day it's worth checking in, right? So maybe half an hour in the morning, half an hour in the night. And if you're starting slow, like once again, I wouldn't say post 5 times a week, right? Maybe just to start off slowly so that you can handle it. And that it's like going to the gym, right? When you say I'm going to the gym 5 times a day for 5 days a week, you can barely do that one day and then you never go back. Start slowly, choose 1 or 2 platforms, start posting once a week, and then build up that stamina, get used to it. And you'll see once you're in it, it's going to be a lot easier. So in general, there's going to be that large chunk at the beginning of the month, the beginning of every 2 weeks. And then every day you could check in a little bit. And if you're only posting once or twice a week, you may not even have to check in every day. You could check in every 2 days or 3 days. So it doesn't require a lot of time. But I would say just with anything, you start slow, small, and then build up to what you want to get. It's rather be consistent than like go crazy and then you're gonna fall off the map.
Okay, 2 more questions. What for different pages like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn? Is it okay to post the same thing on each of those platforms? Obviously, there's different demographic, but is that? I mean, that's what I'm doing, and I see a lot of people doing that. I'm curious to hear from you, what your thoughts are. And second question: WhatsApp statuses.
Okay, so the correct answer to your first question is no. Ideally, you should cater the content to the actual platform. The way I write a Facebook post is different than I write a LinkedIn post. However, I would be a hypocrite to say that I don't do it myself. I also will often take content and post the similar thing on multiple platforms. So the truth lies somewhere in between.
Ooh,
Yeah. So,
okay,
and then the second one about WhatsApp statuses. Hey, in the Frum world, specifically in
right.
the Orthodox Jewish world, WhatsApp statuses are big. Why? Because a lot of people in the Frum world do not have social media. So therefore, their social media is WhatsApp, and therefore to have a status and an update is very powerful. So yes, one should lean into that, especially if that audience is the one that you target. And there are opportunities for advertising on status updates as well, in many different groups across the country. So yes, it's a big platform as well. I should have added it too as a platform, but sometimes I forget about it because in the overall like world, or not world, but in America, it's not a thing you think about. But in our society, it's very big and one should take advantage.
You.
So 94 asked this question again, and I guess my answer wasn't sufficient. But the idea is that if you are in an industry where there's a lot of different people who do the same thing as you, how do you make yourself stand out? That's like question, it's like a basic question. So the answer is that you are different and you are special. And I'm not just saying that, right? Every single person has their own kaikus. So you need to find a way to be different and think about how your content could be a little bit different. And honestly, just because the big gurus of LinkedIn posted news about SEO, about a big thing that Google came out with, does that mean you can't? No, of course you can. Maybe the audience that you have doesn't follow that person. The biggest problem that we have on social media and in general is a concept called imposter syndrome. Every single person feels this. And that is where I look at myself and I always find a reason, people are better than me. I'm not that great. So number one, we got to get over that. And we have to realize, no, I am special. I am great. And I need to post and I need to add my spin to it. And, maybe I am a painter and that's what I'm going to be focusing more on, painting, and then people are going to get to know me through that. But now they also know I do SEO. So there's lots of ways of approaching it. So I think I've answered that one good. I'm going to move on to the next question. A good one. LinkedIn versus Twitter for personal brand. meaning if you're a company brand ambassador, what's stronger? Ooh, I don't know. It's hard. Like me personally, I do really well on LinkedIn. I don't do well on Twitter. I feel like in general, when it comes to business, people have been moving more to LinkedIn, and part of that is with the politics of Twitter a little bit. So I would say more LinkedIn than Twitter, but Twitter I feel like is a lesser lift because tweets are smaller. You can be more involved. So yeah, that's kind of my opinion. Next, a follow-up question is, if you're in the web design, e-commerce, or SEO space, are LinkedIn and Facebook the best two platforms? LinkedIn is definitely the best platform. As for Facebook, it depends. It depends who you're targeting, right? It depends who's in your network. So I would say, someone just said that Twitter is hot right now. Well, yes, they have a new CEO. Twitter is a hot place, but yeah, it just depends. Depends if you like it. It has its own style. I feel like it's a lot more intense, that you have to be on there a lot more. And so I like the cadence personally when it comes to LinkedIn. All right. Any last questions before we end the webinar? All right. Well, thank you all for joining today. It was an absolute pleasure spending an hour of your afternoon. You can once again follow me or reach out to me via LinkedIn at dannygavin.me or through my website, optage.com. Also, check out my podcast. It's really great if you like marketing and mentorship, thedmmentor.com. And yeah, I wish everyone hatzlacha and only success in everything that you do. And hopefully I'll see you again soon. Have a great afternoon.